What up, Petty Nation? You are now tuned in to Petty Sports Black, where I am HBCU. It's your boy, the host, Famous Feez. They call me Facts. We here live with Adam. Holla at him.
You already heard the man, Triple F. Petty Sports Black is back for episode 2. Everything HBCU. And if y'all see the hat on the table today, SSU is alive and well. Shout out Shannon Sharp. We're about to dive completely into it. Feez, what we got going on tonight, man?
Hey, man, we're going to break down Savannah State's 2021 season. They got a brand new head coach coming in this year. We got to talk about the schedule for the next season and let you know just what this thing is going to look like for Savannah State moving forward. Shout out to Uncle Shay. Somebody make sure he gets a hold of this. And make sure y'all know that this whole thing is brought to you by King's Broadcasting Studios. So, man, we're going to jump in. Savannah State last season in the SIAC went 5-1 in conference play, second place in the conference. They went 8-2 overall under head coach Sean Quinn, who subsequently resigned in December of 2021. Like right after the season was over, he resigned. Nobody was really ready for that. Being assistant coach Russell DeMasi, he was named the interim head coach up until just a month ago. The Savannah did a nationwide search trying to find a new head coach. And to everyone's surprise, they brought in Aaron Kelton. Now, why do I say to the surprise? Because Aaron Kelton, he came from Howard University. He was the DB coach and recruiting coordinator there, and he's had a couple of stints at different schools as a head coach. Like most notably, he was the coach at Shorter University for 2 years, and then he had the interim spot at Howard for just 3 games. But the thing to note here is in those 2 seasons plus 3 games, his record was 1-24. He went 0-11 back-to-back seasons at Shorter in 2016 to 2017 and 1-2 at Howard while he was the interim. So that's why we're all left scratching our heads as to how it is possible that he got another head coaching job like that. So only reason he took over at Howard is because then head coach Ron Prince, he actually ran Cam Newton's brother into the transfer portal, and the whole investigation came about of the way he was talking to players and all types of other scandal and everything. But we're not here to talk about Howard. It's been like in those 3 games as the head coach over there at Howard, he went 1-2. His team gave up 366 rush yards and 826 yards on the ground and 16 touchdowns in 3 games, and they only scored 7 touchdowns collectively on the offensive side of the ball. It's been the only successful season he had as a head coach was his first year at Williams College, which is a D3 school up in it's in the New England Small College Athletic Conference. Never heard of it, but it's D3. So I mean, we haven't heard of a lot of schools that are in the division.
Yeah.
He went 8-0 when he took over a team that actually had been successful the prior 2 years, and then they declined quickly. 5-3 the next year and no more winning seasons. So, I mean, that went away very quickly. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the new head coach hire?
I think the new head coach hire could definitely be solid. I know obviously when things were coming around, like you were just mentioning, it was kind of a shocker to everybody. And, you just went through everything with the head coach and kind of what he's brought to the table. So, when you look at a program like SSU, who's obviously been strong for, the last few seasons now, it feels like anyways. And you look at the players that could potentially come back, you look at how they're really trying to, from what I've seen anyways, really trying to buy in more on this quarterback system and actually be able to develop these guys that come in, got transfers coming in from Georgia. And I know we'll get to that in a moment, but, you mentioned how they were obviously 8-2 overall, major wins, of course, over FESU, Ed Waters, Clark Atlanta, very respectable programs, of course, within this conference. And you look at the fact that, of course, they were second best in offense, 10th overall out of 15 teams when it comes to yards per game. So you do want to see some of that improvement. You obviously know they can put up points, but again, buying back into these quarterbacks, buying back into this offense to really make sure that they can make that run because, 2 wins in this type of football, it needs to be less than that. I know that sounds kind of crazy to people, but when we've seen what has to happen time and time again to really get to that championship level, we got to see SSU take that step. We know they're capable of it. And again, bringing in this coach, there's a lot of potential, but they got to perform more than anything, really to make it happen. The losses are pretty ugly though. Of course, we saw the losses last year. We talked about Albany State on the last episode and they absolutely get blasted off the map by them. Valdosta State actually to open the year, 53-7, absolutely absolutely blast them off the map. And you see that they're outgained by 229 yards. Again, you want that defense to step up and you want that offense to be able to complement it, but they have to be able to buy in on those quarterbacks. And again, that offensive scheme that's really going to be coming forward for SSU. And you talk about the fact that JT Hartage, the freshman quarterback, they live and die by him. He had an okay season. I'd really like to see more out of him again as we get into some of these returning players that are coming around. But after they lose to Valdosta State, they go on a ridiculous, 7-week kind of winning streak there, averaging 38 points per game and really just, again, knocking everybody down until they meet Albany State, like I was mentioning. An absolute shutout there and outgained, again, ridiculously. And, you look at the fact that was deeper than just a loss for SSU. That stemmed back to the 2019 year when they had actually had a 9-0 conference streak going on. And, we were talking about Sean Quinn at the time when he was with the team. That was his first loss since taking over the program in 2019. So you were able to see, again, that loss, it meant more to them than just losing at that point in the season. They had to be humbled off that. They had to be rebuild off that more than anything. And this team was horrible on third down in some of those losses. So when it was great, it was impeccable. But when it was bad, it unfortunately kind of got ugly quick. So again, that coach can provide a lot, but going through some of the, situations in the season that they just had, I think that can kind of speak levels to what they're really capable of.
Oh, yeah. In those two big losses, they lost a turnover battle bags. In the Valdosta game, they had 2 fumbles returned for touchdowns.
Yep.
So, when you're a team that is heavily reliant upon the run, then you really cannot turn the ball over and get behind. That makes the game very difficult.
Right.
But, they were running a 2-quarterback system last year with the freshman Jamarion Hartage, but they also had Devon Gibbons as he's coming back for his senior year this year. He's more of a running quarterback. So like that when they switch him out, Hartage is definitely the more pure passer. He was far more accurate in the passing game, and they used him more to pass. He actually had more attempts, even though they both were kind of changing roles within the games. So, Gibbons is a more dual threat guy. So it's like they kind of were just switching back and forth. Moving into the season, they really need to get an identity, and I expect to actually see Hartage move into the actual starter role. And even though it is the senior year for Gibbons, it just is what it is. When you're competing for a position, the better man needs to be in the game. And it's very clear in this conference, if you're able to throw the football effectively, then you're going to win most games because a lot of teams in the conference really cannot stop a potent passing attack. And they actually do have weapons. They're losing the starting running back from last year in D'Angelo Durham, but they've got Enaj Carter and Jordan Grant stepping into his place. Enaj Carter has game-breaking breakaway speed.
Yeah.
When he gets to the outside, he's taking it to the house.
Yep.
He's a very good pass-catching running back. And, when you got the 1-2 punch with him and Jordan Grant, I don't really think that they're going to miss Durham all that much because they've got these young up-and-coming guys that come in and fill that role.
Yep.
So, we should, looking into this season, the only real bad spots that they have that really address is the fact that defensively, you're losing 2 of your most productive players in the senior safety, Marvin Grunchie, and also defensive lineman Bernard Brown. Because, Grunchie was 4th in the team in tackles. He had 32 tackles last year, 2 interceptions, tied for 2nd on the team. And Bernard Brown, he had 28 tackles, which he was 1 spot behind Grunchie. He was 5th on the team, 8.5 tackles for loss, and a team leading 7 sacks.
Yeah.
So, losing 2 guys like that at the same time, that's going to be a little difficult to replace, especially in a conference that's so run heavy. These guys were really getting in there, and they were plugging holes.
Right.
They're going to be missed, so that will be a real big thing to watch to see who is coming in to actually fill those positions and those roles next season, in addition to what kind of an offensive system is Coach Kenton going to actually bring in there.
Right.
So, he's a brand new coach. We're probably going to see some different things out of them. But with them returning all the talent that they're returning, they should still be looking at a really good campaign with, just led by Kelton.
Yeah. And, we were just talking about, how we felt about that head coaching hire. And, we talk about the fact that also we failed to mention this was their first 8-win season since 94. They had really been trying to get things to go back under them. And I think when, we talk about some guys that are returning and that are going to be great for them, in order to keep that kind of 8-win vibe up, I know I mentioned the quarterback play, but again, when we talk about teams truly going the distance, really developing and buying in on a true offensive system, we know that it starts with the quarterback. They've got the most pressure. And, speaking of JT Hartage, like we we were just mentioning here, him walking into his sophomore season, I think it's going to be pretty solid. And even though he did kind of have an underwhelming year, to say the least, I think in both losses he was awful, unfortunately. So you have to look in on that. And I know you were talking about Gibbons potentially being in that, starting role in his senior year, but you want to see Hartage step up, develop overall as that player and be able to complement some of those guys that you were talking about with the breakaway speed and with the Jordan Grant out there that's just going to complement that team time and time again. But we haven't talked about Mason Wood. He actually transferred over back in 2019 from Georgia, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of him. And I don't know really what the case might be. It was kind of tough digging up some of these reports to see what the case again is with Mason Wood. But if he was scouted by the SEC and went to Georgia as a quarterback, he's clearly got some potential. Now, we're not going to sit here and say, outside of Stafford, we know Georgia's not putting quarterbacks in the draft. Let's just call it how it is. But knowing that he took that chance to go to that HBCU and try to get that spot, I love that, getting in on that originality and just, again, swaying it over towards buying in on that HBCU pride, really growing that originality. And I think if you can take Hartage and Wood and just buy in on them, this team will reach new heights. No question about it.
Yeah, man, I think with 3 years left with Hartage, I think they really need to lean into him because he actually is a very good passer. I mean, as a freshman, there's only so much you can expect out of him. So he had a very good year considering he just came fresh out of high school and walked in there and really did his thing. And, I mean, in most of those games, he played good. It was those 2 losses that it was bad, but it wasn't only him that was bad.
Right.
The team got shut down.
Right.
So, I mean, we're going to jump into the 2022 season and look at who they're playing moving in. I mean, hopefully this will be the last stop for Coach Kelton. He's got to figure out his way and where his place in as a head coach for, just in the college football ranks. So, I mean, if he can come in here and be successful, then we can actually start to forget about the past because Shorter was bad. So, I mean, it's very understandable and, the fan base has a very good reason to be skeptical of this move.
Yeah.
But, I mean, looking at coming into the next season, I mean, this unofficial copy of the schedule, we're not really exactly sure if this is what it's going to be. Some of the games are up there, but I do believe this is the order that they will be in. September 3rd, they're going to start the season off at Livingston College. Last year, Savannah rolled Livingston 50-6 at home. I mean, the combos that I just talked about, Hartage and Carter, they both had their way with Livingston last year. Actually, I think it's Livingstone pronounced properly. Whatever. But, I mean, I expect more of the same from Savannah. They're going to open the season with another decisive blowout win under Coach Kelton, and this is going to really it's going to start things off in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think this is an easy W here for Livingston College. And, you look at the fact that their major recruiting class coming in is going to contribute to how well they're able to play in the 2022 season. No question about it. So I think it's a W for Livingston. Easy off the bat. We shouldn't even think about this one.
Oh, yeah. Next week, September 10th at Ed Waters, still on the road.
Yep.
Last year, beat them 24-0 to end the season. This was a Devon Gibbons show. We should really learn a little bit more about what the new offensive philosophy is going to be by game 2 here.
Yeah.
With 2 basically, these are tune-up games because neither one of these teams have the athletes to compete with Savannah State.
Right.
So he's really going to get a chance to implement some systems to see where guys fit. So, I think this is going to be another fairly easy win. They should cruise to a victory over Ed Waters.
Yeah, no question about that either. I mean, we saw how it played out last year. We know the type of talent that Savannah State has. And even if, again, the quarterback room wasn't necessarily sound last year, they know how to play pretty solid defense. They know how to be able to get out there and run the football because, even in some of those losses, they were up in some of those games in time of possession, usually out holding the ball, over their opponents by about 3 or 4 minutes. So that shows you that they can control the clock. But if you're, kind of falling towards the bottom in points per game and yards per game, you're kind of having empty possessions. I don't think that's a problem here with Ed Waters, so it should be an easy W.
Oh, absolutely. Then they move into September 17th. This will be the 3rd straight road game at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Last year, this was a very, very tight game, 41-34. Tigers gave up 306 yards passing to the junior quarterback, Eric Phoenix, who's actually from Savannah, and Phoenix will be returning and I know he's got a vendetta. He had a great game, and they lost in a shootout. Mm-hmm. So, when you couple the fact that Phoenix is coming back and the exit of senior safety, Gunshey, and Bernard Brown, the Tigers might not be able to actually stop the Benedict passing attack. So, but I think this one's going to be another shootout, but I think this is where Savannah takes their first L of the season on the road at Benedict. because replacing two of your most productive defensive players against a team with a prolific passing attack, I think is extremely difficult. And I'm pretty sure Coach Chennis Berry is definitely he's drawing up something for the Savannah game right now.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And, you talked about the shootout last year. That adds kind of the monkey on the back. That makes you want to win that rematch. It makes you want to just get back out there, and truly attack what kind of brought you some adversity. But the reason I don't have them losing here is you were talking about supplementing some great defensive players and really being able to kind of negate that prolific passing attack of Benedict. Will Jones and Quan Proctor, a couple of recruits that are coming in out of McIntosh County Academy in Darien, Georgia. So really, really on the coast of Georgia, no doubt. Jones was named Region Defensive Player of the Year, and Proctor earned first team region honors. These guys really turned the program around out there and actually rallied off 3 straight postseason runs after missing it for each of the previous years as well. So they provide a lot. It might not be a total replacement, but we know make the quarterback uncomfortable, kind of negate that passing attack and just get pressure on him. I think they got a lot of potential to do that, and that is why I will still take SSU to have the 3-0 record at this point in the season over Benedict.
Okay, man, I'd definitely like to see it, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a freshman coming in, just the same as what you were talking about Hart. It's just like, even if they play well, it's like that's a lot to ask for them to replace seniors and be just as productive as those guys were.
Right.
So maybe we're looking at now September 24th at Morehouse. This is now 4 straight road games to start the season. Schedule is brutal just on the traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Just can't play at home. Last year they cruised to an easy W over Morehouse, 29-10. That was a game where Gibbons had his way rushing and passing the ball. Savannah went up 20-0 in the first quarter, just took all the steam out of Morehouse from the start, and it was never a game anymore. I think this one will be a little bit closer this time just because of the same thing I've been speaking of replacing those guys. But I'm still taking Savannah to get the W, move on to 3-1 for the season.
Absolutely. I'll take the W as well for them over Morehouse. I think, it's not anything to where you really got to overthink it. Your eyes don't lie to you when you saw them play last year. It was, kind of turned out to be maybe not a close game, but you kind of thought it could have went either way at one point, but then Gibbons clearly had his day, like you mentioned. So I think there's no problem here. They should roll over Morehouse and get a nice W here. 4-0 at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Now, first home game of the season, October 1st against Kentucky State.
Finally.
Last year, that was a very, very tight matchup. They won the game 21-17, but they got all 21 points in the first half. They got shut out in the second half of the game. Kentucky State actually makes very good adjustments. So, the key to this one is going to be to start very fast, because every game last year that they won, Savannah jumped on the board, and they jumped in early and often. So, a lot of games, they just kind of cruised their way to the victory. So, they just like I said, Kansas State makes great halftime adjustments, and their offense is really explosive.
Yeah.
Savannah did a job to actually hold them to 17 points.
Right.
This team put up 76 points in a game last year.
Yeah.
So if you'd hold them to 17, okay, that's for real, for real. I think both sides are going to actually get on the scoreboard early. I think Savannah's going to win this one in an exciting shootout win at home for the first home game of the season.
I don't see a shootout here with Kentucky State. You mentioned it was close last year with the 21-17 type of win, and, walking into it again this year, first home game for them. I think it'll, you might have kind of some of that tiredness from being on the road for so long, and it's not to say that they won't play well at home, but I think you're going to have to see some sort of adjustment. And we know SSU can adjust, but like I said in the beginning of this, when it gets ugly, it gets kind of bad real quick, so you don't want that to be the case there. I could really see another, maybe 17-14 type of game, or maybe 21-14. I don't see a lot of points in this one, because of what we saw last year. Now, they could start fast, no doubt, but I think this will be a tight one, and they'll really have to rein in to get their first home game victory and, obviously the first game at home for the season.
Sounds like we got another bet on our hands.
Who was it for Albany? I forget.
FAM.
Yeah, FAMU. Yep. Yes, sir.
October 8th, back-to-back home games finally. This one is going to be slated for the homecoming instead of Albany, which was a great decision. Mm-hmm. They're going to be playing Virginia University of Lynchburg. Jesus, who is that? VUL. They were 0-9 last year, and that's why they're the homecoming game. Yeah. It's an easy W. They gave up 42 or more points in every game last year, 50-plus in 7 out of the 9 games.
Ow.
This is a perfect backdrop to homecoming. Everybody's going to watch the game to kind of celebrate, have some drinks, and party and reminisce about the good times.
Yeah. This might be a ridiculous rushing attack here for SSU. I could see anywhere from 45 to 60 points dropped here. Like you said, 0-9, clearly the homecoming game of the year. They got to get a W, and this is a no-brainer.
Oh, absolutely. Now, October 15th, at Clark Atlanta. They're making their way to Atlanta.
Yep.
Savannah rolled Clark last year as they played them for homecoming. It was a 49-14 game.
Yep.
So Clark really feels a way about this game. I mean, I've got inside information that they have real beef with Savannah about the way they got beat and the fact that they scheduled them for homecoming. So this game is circled on their calendar.
Right.
I mean, with new head coach Willie Slater, he's implementing his new systems out here in Atlanta. This could be a brand new Clark Atlanta team that we're looking at. But I mean, Savannah just has better athletes. They won't piss down their legs. And I mean, they're going to overwhelm the Panthers just with pure athleticism. I mean, there's nothing that you can do to coach up a team to overcome the fact that you have better athletes at almost every position on the other side. So Savannah they're going to roll them.
Yeah, no question about it. It was a big win last year, over a respectable, franchise or not franchise, but ball club, obviously in Clark Atlanta. But like you said, they're literally outmatching Clark Atlanta in almost every talent position. And how do you overcome that at that point in the season? I mean, you're going to be 8 games deep at that point, 7 games deep. So you've really already grown your identity. Clark Atlanta is going to know what they do and don't have for that matchup. And of course, Savannah State's going to walk in knowing exactly what they have for that matchup. They take the W here, and it could be another 50 burger, maybe back-to-back games of 50 plus points from Virginia Lynchburg to Clark Atlanta. We'll see.
I mean, it's very possible. So now October 22nd, at home, Albany State University, the showdown that they've been waiting on.
Oh, yeah.
Albany thoroughly embarrassed Savannah last year, the 30-0 win.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was actually a showdown for the top of the SIAC. I think this will be the exact same thing this year, where these two teams will be battling for supremacy in the conference. They're both returning the majority of their starters, with Savannah being the one losing the more productive players than Albany. So, I mean, this is going to be a much tighter game than a year ago. Right. Definitely not a 30-0 type thing. Savannah's going to have a pride game here. They're really going to come out and fight in this game. But I think ultimately they're going to take their second L of the season, leaving them at 6-2 right here.
Yeah, this will be tough. This is where I have the first loss of the season as well coming in here for Savannah State. I definitely don't think it'll be a blowout. I agree with you. They're not going to be, a 30-0 type of game. But I feel like we could see a maybe 28-21, maybe a true heartbreaker at, 28-27 type of thing. I still think it's a loss because Albany State clearly a powerhouse here. Like you said, they're going to be fighting for a lot of rights late in the season to get to that championship, get to that postseason run, and really have that playoff depth more than anything. But I do think they fall short in Albany State. Back-to-back years, they're going to knock off SSU.
This is where Kelton can earn his keep.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, if he's able to coach well in this game, this will change a lot of people's minds. Maybe for the better or the worse.
Oh, absolutely. October 29th, Fort Valley State University, neutral site game. They're going to play them in Macon. Last year, they beat them 24-6. I mean, it wasn't an embarrassing, ridiculous game, but they got 21 of those 24 points in the first half.
Yeah.
They always start really fast. And without Baltimore Ravens wide receiver Shamar Bridges, who's coming on the show next week, I don't really see any way Fort Valley pulls this upset off. Savannah State wins this.
This is going to be a close W to me, and I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but I've been seeing some reports that this could be what's called the Macon Central City HBCU Football Classic, some type of title around that for there. So I think that'll be, neutral site. So it's not that SSU is going to be thrown off by anything, but they're obviously not going to have the comfort of being home. They're still, maybe not technically on the road, but they're not at home, and we know that. Coming off of the L from Albany State, playing another close game, I think they play back-to-back close games here against FVSU. It's going to be a close W. Not really comfortable in giving a score prediction, but I could see a close win here. They pull it out, but not without sweating.
I don't think this game is going to be close. But last game of the season, November 5th, Lane College. Unlike last season, the Tigers they're going to finish this year with a very tough game. I mean, the Dragons were 6-4 last year with their common opponents with Savannah. I would say that this is actually a very interesting matchup here. So, I mean, they lost 2 shootouts against Miles and Benedict. They beat Ed Waters, Clark, and Fort Valley, and they got walked over by Kentucky State. So, I mean, when you look at just the common opponents and the type of an offense that Lane College has, I think Lane is going to put up a great fight in this game, and Savannah's going to grind it out. I think it's a low-scoring win for Savannah. It's some to the tune of a 21-20, 21-17 type of game, and they finished the season 8-2. Coach Kelton will win over all of he'll at least buy himself one more season of support.
Agreed. Highly agreed. I think this will be a W here as well. They finished the season 9-1. I can't see a close one, though. You just rattled off everybody that they were able to compete with and really, push on, I guess, last year and, in their tenure. So, we're going to see a good Nice classic matchup to end the season. SSU will have earned that 9-1 record. And we're going to see some different things from Lane College, of course. They're coming onto the schedule, just coming off of a 6-win, season last year. So not extremely great, but they're not going to be someone that's just going to roll over for you at this point in the season. Every snap is going to count. I got SSU winning here, though. Again, they finished 9-1.
Absolutely. I got 8-2. You got 9-1. I actually hope you're right, but we're going to wait till the season starts and we'll see what it's going to be. And that's what it is. Savannah State 2022. You can get anywhere from here. Somebody holler at Shannon Sharp, Club Shay Shay, and all of them. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Talking about the alma mater,
like,
baby.
Share, subscribe, baby. It's Petty Sports Black.